It was late at night, long after most people had gone to bed. The city was quiet, and the only sound was the soft rain tapping against the road. Ada stood alone at the bus stop, holding her bag close to her chest. She had just finished a long day at work and was eager to get home. When she looked at the time, it was a few minutes past midnight. Her phone had no signal, and the street was empty. Then, from the distance, she heard the sound of an engine. A city bus appeared through the fog and stopped right in front of her. Its headlights were dim, and its number flickered weakly. Route 13. Ada frowned. She didn't remember any Route 13 on her usual path home, but it was late, and she didn't want to wait in the dark any longer. She climbed aboard. The bus was almost empty. Only the driver sat in front, an old man with tired eyes and a pale face. He gave her a short nod. "Last stop soon," he said quietly. Ada smiled politely and went to sit by the window. "That's fine. Just drop me near Greenway Avenue." The driver didn't reply. The bus doors closed with a hiss, and the vehicle rolled into the misty street. At first, Ada thought nothing of it. She leaned her head against the window, watching the empty streets. But after a while, something felt wrong. The roads looked unfamiliar. The shops and buildings she usually passed were nowhere in sight. Instead, the bus drove through narrow lanes lined with old houses that seemed empty and broken. She pressed the stop button. The red light came on, but the bus didn't slow down. "Excuse me," Ada said. "I think you missed my stop." The driver's voice was soft but cold. "No, this is where you belong." Ada blinked. "What do you mean?" The driver didn't answer. The streetlights flickered, and the darkness outside seemed thicker. Ada's stomach tightened. She turned to look behind her and froze. When she boarded, the bus had been empty, but now there were people sitting in the back rows. At least they looked like people. Their faces were pale, their features faint like fog. None of them moved. They all sat still, facing forward. Ada's chest began to pound. She grabbed her bag and hurried toward the front. "Please stop the bus, I want to get off." The driver kept looking straight ahead. He didn't blink or move his hands. Ada glanced down at the steering wheel and gasped. The wheel was turning on its own. The old man wasn't even touching it. He sat motionless, staring ahead as if he couldn't see anything. "Sir?" she whispered. He didn't respond. She touched his arm gently, and his skin felt cold like ice. His eyes were open, but empty. Ada stepped back, her breathing quick and uneven. The bus began to move faster. The sound of the engine grew louder, and from the back came a soft whispering. At first, she thought it was the sound of the wind. But then the whispers became clearer, many voices speaking together. "Stay with us," they said. "Stay with us forever." Ada spun around. The passengers were no longer sitting still. Their heads had turned toward her, though they had no faces to see her with. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out. She ran to the back door and tried the emergency handle, but it didn't open. Her hands trembled. She took out her phone, but the screen was black. Out of fear, she reached into her bag, searching for anything useful, and found an old bus ticket she didn't remember having. It was yellow and torn, with faded writing. Route 13, one way only. Passenger Ada M. Okafor. Date 12th November 2020. Ada's heart stopped for a moment. That was 5 years ago. She shook her head. "No, that's not right. I've never taken this bus before." The whispering grew louder. You just forgot." Memories began to flash in her mind. The sound of rain, the blur of lights, a car losing control. She remembered being pulled out of a damaged vehicle, people shouting, a bright light above her. Then nothing. She closed her eyes. "No, I lived through that. I woke up. I survived." The voices replied softly, "You never left." The bus suddenly stopped, throwing Ada forward. The doors opened, letting out a cold gust of wind. She stepped outside, shaking. To her shock, she was standing at the same bus stop where she had first boarded, the same flickering light, the same signboard. But the world looked strange now, gray, silent, and empty. Even the air felt heavy. She turned to look at the timetable. It read, Route 13, the bus for the departed next passenger, Ada M. Okafor. Tears filled her eyes. "No, please." Then she heard a calm voice behind her. "You're not supposed to be here." Ada turned. A woman stood nearby wearing a nurse's uniform. Her smile was gentle, but her face looked faded, like an old photograph. "Who are you?" Ada asked softly. "I help those who get lost between life and death," the woman said. "If your time isn't finished, you can still return." Ada stepped closer. "Please, help me go back." "You must remember why you came here," the woman said. Suddenly, everything around Ada began to change. The fog swirled, and she saw herself lying in an ambulance, doctors working around her, someone shouting her name. She saw her husband crying beside her hospital bed. "I was still alive," she whispered. The woman nodded. "Yes, you were caught between both worlds. This bus collects those who have not yet crossed completely. If you want to live, you must refuse the journey." "How?" Ada asked desperately. The nurse looked at her kindly. "Tear the ticket. End its claim on you." Ada reached into her pocket, but the ticket was gone. Then she saw it, held by the old driver standing near the bus doors. His face was pale, his eyes empty. "No refunds," he said softly. The bus's lights turned red, and the ground seemed to shake. The whispering began again, louder this time, begging her to stay. Ada gathered her courage and ran toward the driver. She grabbed the ticket from his hand. It burned against her skin, but she held it tight and tore it in half. At once, the wind roared and a bright light surrounded her. When Ada opened her eyes again, she was lying on a hospital bed. The room was bright and filled with the beeping of machines. A nurse rushed to her side. "She's awake!" the nurse shouted. "Ada, can you hear me?" Ada blinked, confused but breathing. Her husband hurried into the room and took her hand, tears running down his face. "Ada," he said, his voice shaking. "You're back. You made it." She looked around, still dazed. "The bus," she whispered. "Route 13, the nurse smiled softly. "You were in an accident, but you're safe now." Ada glanced down at her sheets and saw a small piece of paper fall from her hand. It was yellow, burned around the edges. Only 2 words were clear. Route 13. She smiled faintly and whispered, "I made it home." Outside the window, a bus drove past the hospital. Its number shone for just a second, 13, before it disappeared into traffic. Later that night, the same bus stopped once again at the empty station. A tired young man waited there, unaware of what Route 13 really was. The doors opened, and the same old driver looked out. "Last stop soon," he said. The man stepped inside. The doors closed. The bus drove off into the mist. At the station, the timetable changed by itself. Next, passenger, David C., Route 13, the bus for the departed.